It'll be pared down for
Watch your,
for sound. For sound, it'll
watch
watch.
you say. We're not allowed
No,
to say
don't,
certain
don't,
words.
you don't watch what you say.
Watch.
We don't watch what we say.
I-
We're respectful.
There's
mindful.
certain words that I say that people get mad at me when I say them, and it's just a thing, it's like the words, no, in context, take it in context.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
mean,
no.
I'm not mean about
It
it,
should be
I'm trying to
live.
talk about it,
No,
I'm trying to talk about it, not be mean about it.
It has
There's a
been live streamed.
difference.
There we go.
You use it as a, if you use it as a tool and a weapon, that's one thing, if you use it in context, it heals.
Well, I don't know, you know, I mean, like you said, with Martin Luther King,
Right.
he had nothing but good intentions, and it
No,
depends on the end user. You know, what are they feeling at the time, and how do they take the message in, and what does it mean to them?
Are you streaming?
Yeah, we're live.
You live?
I believe we're live.
Are you sure?
If so, we better share this. Human condition. You know who I am. Lanice, Rose, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
also
Back, look, you got a
AKA Lanice with you. And I think this is the first time Lanice and I met in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're both part of Renaissance Unity. At Renaissance Unity, when the pandemic hit, we obviously couldn't go, but we tried to we kept it going. So when George Floyd, that incident happened, I don't know who formed it, but a group called Act Now was formed, and it was social injustice. How do we what can we do from where we're perched right now in our houses, and some really powerful things came out of it, and one of the most powerful things was our ability to have difficult conversations with what quote unquote or stereotypically would be the enemy, right? Or you can't have those conversations with those people, and we weren't powering through it either. We were just saying, you know, it was really because we knew we were all from a place of love, so we were allowed to make mistakes, and but anyway, that's where I met Denise, and it was so poignant that I still think I met everybody in person. Like I have memories of me and Alexis debating in a room that we weren't in no room. Like that was Zoom. Like, so I still have memory. My brain wants to create memories of being places, and we weren't. Well, we were just Zooming.
Yeah.
So yeah. So this is, I think, the first time we've ever met in person.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Nice to meet you in person.
You too.
Feel like I know you. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a time and a period when there's a lot of trauma going on, a lot of racial unrest, and the pandemic.
To boot.
And the pandemic, that almost seems like now, like it was like the perfect storm. But a perfect storm of developing a group of folks who come from different walks of life, Black and white, and male and female, and different amounts of experience, the way we experience America. But not being able to get to the deep conversations because of all of the trigger words and concepts, and they're experienced by us. Our bodies experience racism, but when you talk about racism, then people shut off, they shut down, they get defensive, and that was a group that developed that allowed us to break down some of those walls, and still talk about the real. Yeah. It was some things that I said in that group that I would never have said in front of a bunch of white people. I'm just gonna say it. I wouldn't have said it. I would not have said it.
Can you say it to me? Can you say it to me?
We will discuss something.
Say it to me.
They're on camera.
Yeah, they are.
That's the thing. I want to hear what you had to say.
Yeah,
There's so many.
It's so many, but the notion of it is that we developed an environment that we all could come with our own traumas, with our own preconceptions, with our own racism. I mean, let's just be
Call it
real.
what it is.
It was,
Yeah.
it was some folks who, had some racist tendencies.
There,
There were some, some Black folks who had some prejudice tendencies. I mean, the whole 9 yards, but it was an environment where we created a space that we could make those mistakes, but still get to the bottom of we're all the human race. And not saying racism doesn't exist, color doesn't matter. No, that's hogwash. But what I'm saying is that when you get down to the meat of it, we all are experiencing trauma. And wherever that trauma comes from is going to be different. But on the basic level, if you can get to the point where you can even say, let's agree to disagree on some things, but let us be able to hear one another.
Mm.
And
heal one another.
but you gotta hear one another
You gotta feel
before
that.
you heal.
Right.
Because you can't heal if you're not hearing that person.
That's what I'm saying.
And if your mind is
something to
clocking
do.
out
Yeah.
when that person said a certain word and your mind is clocking out to
Right.
something else, to your
Yeah.
old paradigms and thoughts,
Right.
you're not hearing nothing.
Huh?
You're in your defense
Agreed.
mechanisms, and that's the
Mhm.
thing. Well, and then the nefarious forces, whatever they are, whoever they are, there's a reason that we're fed trigger words, right? Like, because once you're triggered, you can't get by that. You're stuck in your defense mechanism. So now you're in your amygdala, and your brain's trying to process whether or not to go into fight or flight, and there's no way to get to your logic. It's physically impossible for you to get to your logic. Even we might throw some logical arguments in, but it's really just to protect ourselves. That's all we're doing in the moment.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
Proving it.
well, and that's what they do. Like, when you say race, whoever they are, when you say racism, you're gonna sell some ads.
I
you're
can
gonna-
say
you
some
know what
stuff
I mean?
right now, but I don't believe it. I can say some stuff that would trigger.
Well,
I
anybody
don't
could.
believe it. You follow what I'm saying? Like, there are words that would trigger. And you can say some words that you said in that meeting that would trigger me. I'd be like,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
doesn't, it's not about that. It's
Yeah.
about trying to find unity and figure out, we're all human. We're all human. We're trying to get through this life.
Well, it's really about being able to rough it up. You got to be able to look, if you
You
want
gotta do the
to,
work.
if you want to get a yay.
Because it's feeling gonna be hard. You're going to be angry. You're gonna feel that the other person is not hearing you. And then that you gotta be able to. I have to be able to in a room full of white people. I have to be able to speak to white privilege,
Mhm.
right?
Speak
And
to-
a white person though, in the room full of Black people, right? Needs to be able to express, hey, I'm not the enemy. I've got my own trauma.
I've seen white privilege.
And
I'm
right.
white.
Well, but
I-
a lot of people that will shut them down
No, I
when
witnessed it
when we say that.
firsthand.
And so we had to be able to say that in a way without saying that word.
Yeah.
No,
We had
I've
to be
seen it.
able to
I've seen
say
it firsthand.
And then in that group, it was, even on the side, like I said, as a Black woman, I had to give the white people in the group the space to be able to express themselves and express things that they had experienced that would say, hey, well, what about this side of it? I had to be able to be open enough, right, to take off my trigger words and my blinders and my stuff that's going on, bubbling up inside.
Because
me
you're surrounded in a
hear,
white society,
to be able to hear, because we're both socialized in the same society.
Right.
So
I mean-
we both see the same images,
Yeah.
we see the same things, we're fed the same propaganda.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I talked about was, as being a Black woman, like, the whole syndrome of, people saying that if you're walking down the street and a Black man is coming, a Black man is coming down, and you kind of, if you're on that side, go to the other side, or you clench your purse or whatever, and even though I'm Black, got Black father, Black brothers, you know, I'm socialized in the same community. So what I see on the news is that it's more likely that a Black man is going to do something to me than a white man. That doesn't make me racist or hate my own Black folks, but I'm socialized in the same community. So it's all of us that we need to.
By the way, that's not true. If you go to,
We know,
if you go to Warren,
we know,
it's true.
we know.
A white bloke in Warren.
And in fact,
You follow me?
and in fact, I would say as a Black woman,
In general.
just experiencing what I've experienced and looking at society, that I am and kind of a throwaway on either side. So whether it's a Black man, white man, Chinese man, anybody that does something against me, that is not as important as a white woman.
Yeah, so now you're talking men and women.
Mm-hmm.
So now
But no,
now you
men
get
and women
into-
and Black women in particular, you know.
Go on.
So, but again, in the Act Now group, we were able to say those type of things, whether they were right or wrong. I'm not saying nothing I just said was right.
I'm just saying how
I'm
you
just
felt.
saying how I felt, and being able to have other folks be able to listen and then have a conversation that gets down deeper instead of just surface level of somebody, of even, because there was even white people when I would speak on those type of things would want to be apologetic or feel guilty, and I'm like, no, because that's not going to get me nothing.
Right.
That's not going to get me nothing. I need an ally. I don't need someone to pity me or say, whoa, Black woman is having a
you poor thing.
hard thing.
You
No,
poor thing.
I need an ally.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what we were able to start forming.
You need someone to hear you.
Well, keep talking about it. I want to hear.
That's really-
I want to hear more about
That's
it.
really all trauma. That's because what it is at its core is trauma.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They want to put words to, and yes, that as a, and here's where people get confused. That's what I learned in Act Now, because I started doing a deep dive into, I thought I knew everything about racism.
Mm.
You know, my upbringing, I grew up in Detroit, and I found out I knew nothing about it. And I also found out that I don't know if it's intentional or what, but from dictionary to dictionary, there's different definitions. One, it's an act, an individual act, it can be, the other, a system. And you can, when I started piecing these together, I'm like, well, now I see why everyone's arguing, because there's no, you know what I mean? You get to pick your, whatever you want it to mean to
Yeah.
you, and then you espouse that, you know, and it's, I have to say, it's by design, like,
Yeah.
as long as you keep people arguing about an argument that can go nowhere, because here's the truth, we know we're all traumatized. We know we are.
Yeah.
And if I got into the habit of, this is how I got on PTSD. I asked myself, what cognitive processing therapy teaches you to feel first. So if you have a visceral response to anything as a human being today,
Mhm.
it's not planted in the moment.
Nope.
Just anything visceral, because you're not surviving. We don't survive anymore. So, you know, so it's planted in something that's in our childhood, usually in the first 3 years when we're developing attachment to our caregivers.
Mhm.
So it's planted and we're reacting to that, and our brain is actually playing out that movie in real time. We can't see it. We don't know what's happening. Yet our eyes can see it, and they can
Why
see
didn't
it.
you do the dishes? Why didn't you take the go to the?
And it's never-
Stupidest thing.
It's never about, like, when somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm like, yeah, I want to kill you. What the fuck was that? Like, where did that even come from? Like, why am I so angry?
Anger, right.
But, you know, so think about how this plays out when somebody would say to a Black person, racism's dead. And I was gonna ask you, how's life been ever since we got rid of it?
I would love your feedback. on
Great,
it.
now
What
the
you
racism
said.
gone.
There's so many people that have said, like,
Mm-hmm.
racism's gone. No, just chuckle. I just laugh, I just chuckle.
Yeah. It's not gone, but
It's not gone.
Again, we gotta talk about it in different terms. And so what's your question? Like, What's your question?
Oh, what, I don't know. what I was talking
You
about.
said,
I have my own, but
since the group, what's?
Oh, yeah, ever since we got rid of racism, I was like, man, I'm just wondering, you know,
since it's now gone,
yeah.
since
Yeah.
racism, no, my question was. Today as a black woman, how, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, you follow me? Like, how much racism do you feel as you walk around? Is it? Like, I would never look at you different, like
That's
me,
where the
because I'm
understanding of
young,
Trump
right?
comes
Like,
from.
I am the minority, if you will.
Mhm.
But, you know, it is what it is, and I know that if I, you know, if I painted my skin black and walked around, I'd feel it. I know it for a fact.
Mhm.
Chappelle put on whiteface, you know, right, did his thing. It was hilarious, and he's like, and if it gets on the bus and dancing around, it's just, that don't happen, just so you know.
Yeah.
But it was a point that he was making.
It does, trust me.
Well, not my bus.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, if you wanna rate it, I mean, it's about a 10. I mean,
They're being the worst.
yeah, I mean,
It's still there
it's a daily thing.
every day.
It's a daily, judgment that goes on.
Do you
It's-
feel it or is it real? Do you feel it? I'm asking you,
I feel
or is it real?
it both. Feel it and it's real.
It's not cool. That's not cool. Like, how do we fix this?
If you,
So let's
if you
talk
walk
about-
into a store and, you know, you're followed or you're,
I'm followed.
uh,
I'm followed. I am.
if you're, treated in a certain way, it's real and you feel it. I think the most pervasive feeling is, we don't belong. That's the constant.
Alienation. That's,
That's the constant.
Are they white males, Chinese people, Indians, you know, foreigners? You follow me? That make, no,
All
I
of the
had to
above,
ask a
and-
question.
but it's all of the above, and it could be my fellow black person.
come on,
It could be somebody black.
why?
It could be the difference between a light skinned black and a dark skinned black.
yeah, when you were talking about, that's, you know, one thing I never really take into account is, so we talk about racism, I don't think about the dynamic male, female.
Mhm.
Until we had this group, and then I was, oh, now there's that in addition,
And that.
you know what I mean? So there's all these different layers of, you know, and really what happens is, whether it's overt or not on the exterior, it's planted in you at a very young age that, you know, for me, I felt alienation my whole life, but it wasn't for the same reasons. Like, so I can relate to having to look
the
over my shoulder
alienation.
all the time. You know, I was a poor white kid, dirt poor white kid, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was gonna steal something. I was, you know what I mean? Cause where, you know, I think white people will rob you just as quick as black people, and you know what I mean? Like, all my friends were thugs, so like I look at someone's
You had a
demeanor,
different
yeah,
experience.
different
Yeah.
experience, so
Mhm.
I look at the demeanor and be like, oh, this motherfucker, man, you might be trying to jack me, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but it don't matter what color they are, I'm looking at something different because of that experience, but, and that was interesting to bring into that group is that, well, no, I had this experience but what I thought, and I've thought about it a lot since the group, you know, lapsed, everybody got back to work, I remember, you know, I thought it was racism because I was singled out as a white kid and I always had to fight and, but you know, always had to fight when I got to the suburbs too. I was just that kid for whatever reason.
Yeah.
My mouth didn't help, but so I thought that was racism when, you know, when they would drop the honky on me, but I would drop it right back on there. You know what I mean? It just meant it's time to throw hands. We might as well have been saying your mama to each other. You know what I mean? Because I would have got the same response.
Right.
So it wasn't when I thought about everything we talked about in the group, and I remember my mom. She's a little 5 foot, 100-pound German woman. And we're in. I went to Marquette Elementary,
Mhm.
and one of the lunch ladies had grabbed my arm and pinched it on accident. I was being a little fucking punk. And she said, she made a comment, she said, white, I'm sorry about that. She was really being apologetic. White, I forget white people's skin bruises easier. My mom goes into the school with her, with her best Karen on, you know what I mean, which she could do. And with all the assertiveness in the world, without any fear of repercussion, let the entire school have it, who would listen to her. And I remember that, and I remember, and I remember how fearful the black people, staff, which was prominent, were fearful of losing their jobs. You know what I mean? So then you want to, if you bring it back to a system of, well, yeah, there's way more, and they kick the shit out of this little woman, right? But there's this looming oppression that's ingrained, and because we're not far removed from from grandpa, from where they were segregated and made to drink on the different fountains. Like, I don't care what anybody says, that does something to a person.
Yeah.
I would have to imagine, because I've never had that. You know what I mean? I've had my share of whatever. Like, I'm okay. Like, it doesn't matter what work I do, or how profound it is, or how many people turn against me, or I'll never know what that is, to be hated all the time for the color of your skin, no matter what you're doing. Then to get that dumped on top of you, how like he is godlike to have been able to walk through what he did, and have everybody remember him in that light. That's godlike, right? That's, I can't imagine what that must be like. He had the threat of death any damn way. You know what I mean? Then he stuck, then you said, like you said, 55% of the black population had turned against him when he started talking about economic empowerment, and so now he's got that.
Yeah, he's got rejection all the way around. People don't understand. In the last parts of his life, he was going through severe rejection. That people behind his back were saying, "Hey, King is off the rails. He's lost it." And it was more that he was, like I said, looking at the economic empowerment of peace, and the boycotts and things and the sit-ins. That was about the economic movement, and that is what really triggered the change, because when you mess with America's dollar,
yep.
that that's where it is. And so even, like I said, even some of his own folks, like when he would go to different churches and speaking engagements, they were half full. They were not packed out. And then it was more or less, the big events, the big marches and things like that. But he was going around the circuit, and people don't understand that there was a lot of injustices and bombings and fires and lynchings and all kinds of stuff that was going on as well. And so now I think that we kind of get lost in what he was actually fighting for, and we've kind of made him a mascot instead of actually staying in the trenches of what he was actually trying to accomplish. And back to what you were talking about as being a poor white kid and going through alienation, and how you relate to me and the alienation that I go through on a daily basis. As a Black woman, I had to get to a place, and that was working that out through Act Now and through that group of that I can even hear that from you, because I couldn't even hear that from you. Like, dude, you ain't dealing with racism. What are you talking about? What alienation when you color your skin, you don't belong in America. Like, you don't know what that is. And so that's where some of the work had to be done, to even for me and you to sit, especially you as a white man, to sit in the same circle and to be able to talk about some of those things. But that takes on both of our sides. Because if it didn't happen on both of our sides, the conversation is not going to go no further.
No.
It's going to stay at defensive, it's gonna stay at, you know, I try to get my point across, you try to get your point across, I try to get my feelings across, you try to get yours. I try to tell you, explain to you my experience, you try to explain to yours, and who's right, who's
And
wrong.
they all sound the same.
And, you know, it doesn't go anywhere, but I think on a large basis, that's where the work has to be done.
It is. I know a lot was done for
Compassion,
me.
did I say compassion?
Mhm.
Well, compassion and you gotta be willing to take some hits. You gotta be, you have no right to tell somebody that they didn't feel that. You might not have had that experience,
Right,
so your gut response may be to dismiss it because it's too much, right? Like, you know, when the Me Too movement, I'm Matt Lauer, and I'm like, yeah, right, he's got so much money, why would he do that and lock a door? And like that's the gut response, because I couldn't fathom, like, that's just so fucking weird to me, like, I couldn't. So, you know, when you start talking about certain things, it's like, so what do you do, like child molestation, it's still, I know it happens, but it's such a fucking far-fetched, weird thing for me. I'm like, come on. But the truth is, it does, right? So,
yeah,
like, but it's so hard to wrap my brain around it that
Think about it.
my visceral response to hearing that kind of thing, I think that a lot of parents do it too, is especially when it's their kid. No,
There's
no, there's no way. There's no way. You
Who
know,
would do that? Is what I say. Who would do that?
well, and who would do that, what this country did, right? You know what I mean? Like, who would do the
That's what it
Holocaust?
boils
And
down to. And who would do it? And who would be Hitler?
yes,
Like,
because we
and
talk
who
about
would do it?
America and who we are and what we're not like and what we are, and a lot of times we don't, you know, we don't look at the pure truth and evidence of who we are.
Right.
We are expressing who we are, and we're a lot of things, and so it doesn't mean that we're all bad, but we're certainly not as good as we're presenting ourselves.
No, no, and what we are truly is, we're deluded, right? People, it's real hard, and that's what I realized about, Angie's here. You want that, Angie? We're deluded because once you see something, and I realize this with like a Trump, like somebody who's real passionate about Trump, there's really no reason to be that passionate, right? But any of these politicians, Biden, what the fuck are you? You know, come on, like, nobody wants. They're not the best player in the game, right? Like, so we know that. So why are you so passionate? What I've realized is a lot of people, those candidates embody their flaws. So if when they come out and they're as flawed like they are, they support the fuck out of them because now, well, they do it. You know what I mean? And that's what I've realized. And back in my neighborhood, why a lot of the guys that were feeling alienated and we're losing our masculinity and shit like that, why they went to, there's a lot of reasons that people are pissed at the government. So that's why a guy like Trump gets in and you know, Bernie gets ousted and whatever. But that's why, is that he embodied those character traits, the chauvinist and blah, blah, blah. And he got to be president. So I can't be bad, right? You know, and people would rather look for reasons why they can't be bad rather than fix. Hey, Angie, how you doing? Another act now, affiliate, colleague.
A new mommy.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Oh, wonderful.
Awesome. So we've just been kind of shooting from the hip, but
Yeah.
As we do. As we do. I don't know, Daisy will show up somewhere. I don't know if it's remote. I think she's coming in at 6. But Phil just texted, anyway, we're talking.
Right.
Cool little space you got here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can call it Equanimity Studios.
It's really cool.
It's really only one studio in this podcast.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
He's got a real deal studio in his house. It's pretty badass. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So Angie, introduce yourself. Let's hear it.
Okay, sure. I'm Angie Blanchard, and I know these fine folks from our church, or former church, or current church.
I was there yesterday.
Yeah, I was
Were you?
online, nope, I
Oh.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
But,
It's the first time back in a while.
yeah, yeah. And
Good
he was
service.
talking about that, we never had met each other in person.
Have we?
This is the first
No.
time.
Never, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have,
Yeah, I've never got Phil either.
yeah,
That's crazy, actually.
right,
Daisy, yes.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that is crazy to think about.
yeah.
Yeah, because we got deep.
Mhm,
We got deep in that group.
mhm.
Without ever meeting each other, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that is one of the things with the pandemic is, you know, when your back's against the wall, right, and you don't know what's coming next, you tend to be more real because you don't know, well, that's not everybody, but people that would like to come out of that, like there was people who have a fighting spirit, you're gonna start throwing caution to the wind because you know it might be that might be the end. We really didn't know what the hell was gonna
Yeah.
happen. Like every week it was some kind of new mandate
Yeah.
and
2 weeks,
And,
turned into 4 months, turned into
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years.
and then George Floyd. It's like, what the fuck is going on in this? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I'm done. And by the way, it's going on again. China has ramped it up again. I'm talking to people from China, half my customers are in China,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, they're all locked down again. They're like, all their businesses are shut down.
Or something over there.
Did you recognize it as a dark night of the soul when I
Yeah.
started? I did too.
well, we're still in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a collective dark night of the
Yeah.
soul.
Well, say monkeypox one more time. You follow me? Say it one more time.
But and that's why somebody like Martin Luther King Jr. and I never really understood the connection. I talked about it. I really never talked about that second grade thing. And that's when I first started. I'm like, yeah, I did this thing in second grade with Martin Luther King Jr. I don't know what it was because I didn't, and I didn't know what it was leading to,
Mhm.
and it led here. And so there's always been this connection to his work. Right, not so much. I didn't know much about him. I heard his speeches but I didn't. You know, I was young. I didn't really understand. But there was a connection to his work, what he was doing. And I used to always say stupid shit like I'm just waiting for something to die for, a cause to die for, which is a stupid thing to say. But since I was a kid,
Mhm.
like, and all my heroes were murdered. You know, like they you know, Pac, John F. Kennedy,
Every person I've ever saw.
Jesus.
Well, maybe Tesla might be, he died of insanity. He's my favorite, but like, it seems like everybody's always
Socrates, you know,
been like martyred in some way or just killed.
but Martin Luther King Jr. was the modern, you know, he was like, honestly, it was like, he was like Jesus to me. Because he embodied what the parables that I didn't understand, he embodied it. Like, he illustrated what that is to love unconditionally and to be militant with love. That's what I love about him. Like that's where I can say, all right, I'll surrender. Shoot me, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like that. Like I'm with that. You know what I mean? Like that.
I've got no guns on me.
Yeah, I'll
Right.
walk straight into your shit. I don't give a.
Right.
I know I'm
Yeah.
gonna die tomorrow. I'll be there. I don't know if you saw the thing I posted on this page about the lady talking about the two things Martin Luther when he came to grips with his fear, when he overcame his fear.
Mhm.
Because he was scared, he had anxiety, and I was talking to Glenn about it last night too.
Yeah.
And to do that anyway.
Anyway,
It's like tremendous faith.
so he got, so he got the call then the night before. They said, get the hell out, we're gonna kill you and your family. So he was scrambling around trying to figure out how to get out of town. And then he stopped and he said, I'm not going anywhere. You know, and he told this woman who was speaking, he said, I'm just trying to do the right thing, and I don't think that leaving is the right thing. He knew it. He knew, and he was scared like a human would be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he stood in the face of it. And
And he lost his life for that. What's wrong with this?
Well, that's a
Let's
lovely
ask that
question.
question. You know,
Yeah,
let's
that's
ask that question.
real
What's
low.
wrong with us?
So what do we, so you then as a white man in America, what are you seeing as, your actions that you're taking to make Martin Luther King's dream come to fruition or his work? Like, what are you doing?
So I didn't have any intent that was never the intent, like
Mhm.
you know, and I would never think in a million years, like, that's a hard thing to measure up to. So I'm not saying there's, like I said, I to be able to walk through what he did, and you're hated anyway, you know what I mean? Like, for the color of your skin, hated, and then to get more hated, and then to have your own people turning against you, you know what I mean? Like, that's hell, you know what I mean? But to walk through it, that's crucifixion, that's a lifelong crucifixion, walking with the cross, you know what I mean? So, so I'll never know what that experience is, but I understand, like, I understand what Jesus went through. I understand. I didn't go through it myself,
Right.
but so what I've always felt like there's equanimity was my thing. I'm like, why can't you know, it's just kind of silly to say now, why can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
But why
Come
the
on
fuck
now,
can't we?
don't
Like,
throw up,
it never,
Don't do that.
I didn't like being, you know, when I came, so I thought I came across 8 Mile. Now I'm made fun of for talking black. Now I gotta fight
I
these
know,
fucking
it's
assholes.
true.
You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah, I can't talk the way I grew up.
everywhere I went, I didn't really quite fit in until I started acting like a white person.
Yeah,
I learned how to talk white. I learned how to act white. I learned how to have white parties, and you know what I mean. And then eventually, I blended in. But I got to hear a lot of the shit. You know what I mean? And
let me ask you a question.
Lenise.
So, Lenise, sorry, Rose.
Mhm.
That's what I was-
Lenise Rose?
Mhm.
Oh. Nice. You asked a really pointed question to Vince.
Yeah.
And you skirted it.
no, I'm getting to it.
He can do it.
I'm getting to it. I'm not trying to make this whole thing this.
I'm gonna ask it differently. I'm gonna ask it differently. What would you like white men to do?
That's not the answer to the question.
What would you like white men to do to make you feel as if we are helping the movement? You follow me?
Yeah.
What can
Well,
you
on a basic level, become an ally. And what that means to me is to hear me, to hear my experience, and to use your privilege to bring forth where I'm not heard, where I'm not valued, but you have the ear and the voice that
and the-
people
and the
hear.
power- And the power.
And
You know what I
so,
mean? Like.
yeah, so
we
that, you
have-
know, on
we
that
have
basic
the-
level,
I can push a little bit. I
Yeah.
don't have, you know, I'm not Elon Musk. I
right,
can't launch rocket ships,
right.
but son of a bitch, I can get damn near close.
Why does he think he can?
I would have more rocket ships.
I'm with Elon, I'm with Martin Luther, I'm like that. Why the fuck can't you? You know what I mean?
It's true. We all can. Yeah.
But
I mean,
that
it
is,
goes to money and that type of thing, I guess, you know, that's some of it.
Well, you know, PayPal and
Yeah.
eBay.
But
A
again,
lot of money.
you know, you pose that to me, but I mean, that's on a basic level of what I would say any white person, period.
Right.
But in particular, white men, just because they're still
Yeah.
at, you know, at the level of power and control. But then white women are in proximity of that power and control, even though
Absolutely.
they go through horrific sexism, just like a black woman would, but
Yeah.
but they are close to power.
Mhm.
And so those things is to be an ally, to give a voice to my concerns, give a voice to what affects me, because mostly when things actually do change and when Black people make change, it helps everybody.
Yep.
But when it's bad, it affects us badly the most.
Mm.
You
Wow.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
it's-
we're like,
it's crazy.
we're
Almost like a
we're
weird
stuck,
double
and
equation.
so
Yeah.
we always need
Wow.
allies. Period.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King needed allies.
Mm.
There was nothing that happened and got done without having some white people on his side,
Yeah,
in the movement, in the marches,
they were all
in the
crowds.
trenches,
Yeah, absolutely.
in the voting, nothing would
And
happen.
nobody was there for like the PR sake of it. They were there because they supported the movement. And there was a thing in which that, you know, MLK and beyond, that many white people believe in. They believe in equality. They believe in that. That's how it happened. If it didn't exist, MLK would have been shot day one, and there'd still be slavery today.
And
So,
it still
like,
exists today, and it's still, but it's still divided, because we
because
can't,
there's sti-
we
it's
can't
still-
get
it's
past the
learned.
trauma.
It's learned.
We
No,
can't get past the
no,
trauma to get.
it's almost genetic, I think.
But that's where.
Well, that's the trauma. That is the trauma that is flowing through our bodies, and that our bodies is experiencing as Black or white people, or any other. Our bodies are all experiencing that trauma.
Right.
But to be able to get to the conversation where I can reveal my trauma, I can reveal my mistakes, I can reveal if I say something that's crazy out the way that might seem racist, or might seem like, you know, I'm coming down on a white person to make them feel guilty or that kind of thing. All of that, we have to be able to get from that surface.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we can't get from that surface because of whatever our political stance is, or you know, like I said, somebody fighting for voting rights, but somebody saying, oh no, we don't want y'all to be able to vote, because y'all will be able to vote people in that will change things. You know, they will change things, because people don't understand that you know, while voting doesn't fix everything, it fixes a lot of things, because it matters even on your local level.
Mhm.
Who's in office?
Right.
Who's the DA?
Yeah,
Who's the judge? Those things matter for our day to day.
I'll be honest, I was gonna argue against you, but you're right. You're
For
right.
our day to day, that's what changes things. It's a total difference of one person being in that office and another person being in
Right.
that office. It just totally is.
Definitely.
And
So are you
so
running for
until
office?
we get to another place, absolutely not. Until we get to another place that there's some other magical way to get things done, voting is the way.
No, we need a
So you have to,
strong Black woman in office.
well, we
And
gotta know.
I'm not gonna show this, right?
There's two parties that nobody gets shit
You're
done.
almost and you can get the office.
Nobody.
And it's a lot of them.
And that's, and
It's
that's.
a lot of strong Black women who are changing the face of politics right now. But it's still, like I said, it's still that two-party way that it just hasn't
Well, by design, it's pitting one against the other. It
Yeah,
can't be any other way.
yeah,
has to
it
be.
is. But but I will say though that you know, on like I said, until it changes, until civics change
Yeah,
in America, we have to work the system, and some of that means getting the proper people in office that have the proper means, and getting corporate out of our political system, because until that changes,
that's what this is all about.
So that's the movement. we're
That's,
mhm.
so it's about,
in. Let's keep on MLK.
what?
I think what you're getting at is
Yeah.
many, you know, the whole many pathways, one mountaintop.
Yeah.
Too. Voting is one way,
Right.
doing other ways of doing, you know, God's work of helping people in need is another way. Voting, you're in a two-party system, though. You make a good point. Something that came to mind that we were talking about in my house yesterday and the day before was, we can, as people try to climb the white patriarchy ladder and try to, you know, I can try to use my white privilege to get to the top, and then try to use, you know, that to open up voices for other people, to pull other people up, or we can get the fuck off the ladder.
Right.
And that's what I think you're saying.
I'm off that shit. I like
No.
James Chappelle, I'm off the bus.
Yeah.
I'm not riding the bus.
want to
My
cling to
blue
one
eyes ain't got me. My blue eyes ain't got
So
me.
how do we do that? But in the meantime, like I said, the ladder is the ladder, so we gotta work with the ladder.
You
interested, this is why I knew you'd be interested, because what we're gonna do, what we're attempting to do right now, and it's nonviolent,
Where are we at?
and it's using their numbers against them, it's hitting them where it counts, the pocketbook. Number one, they don't exist, the corporations that support the feds that like the overreach.
Yeah.
They don't exist without us. We buy the products, we work, we do all the things.
Right,
We've been
Right.
paying them to screw us for years.
yeah.
So we got a ticker, and on this ticker, there's a daily spend
Can you
that the
pull it?
feds.
Can you pull it?
Not right now, and.
Okay. Well, give a promo real quick. Go.
No,
Tell
you
people to
do
go-
it, you get it up.
No,
there.
tell
I'm talking-
people to
I'm
go
talking
to WTP.online.
Well, WTP.online. It was down last night, sorry.
Just
so-
check it out.
So you go on there and, our daily spend, this is where they expect us to spend it, right? We're very conditioned, they know, they can predict our behavior.
Amazon, Walmart, otherwise.
So what we're doing on this ticker is that when you join the movement, it shows your ownership of this economy. So at 33 million, we could literally, per their numbers, $104 billion a month. We could keep in our economy. That's less than 10% of the population on our daily
Yep.
spends. So they've never
It's
seen
called
us,
the ticker.
number one, unify. So people in this movement, they're anarchists, they're shamans, they're Trump supporters, it's like, look, put it all, we don't care. Let's have our arguments matter. Like, I would love to have an argument with my neighbor and have it matter at the poll. You know what I mean? Instead of having some corporation or the money powers, put somebody there that nobody wants. You know, and then they have us fighting over racism, sexism, abortion, they're giving us all these trigger issues to keep us
Sexism.
distract.
Yeah, distract.
Or
Yeah,
against.
Dogs, I mean, honest to God, like, put us against.
And we fall for it.
It's disguised by the illusion of choice, which has now become a corporatocracy. Like, so what we're doing with this is when we get to 33 million, we're gonna ask nicely, we need you to go ahead and take the profit out of
Stop
politics.
spending.
Just like church is separate from state, we need profits out of politics. And how we're gonna do that is we're gonna cap campaign spends. So we want you to, when we can write this executive order tomorrow, if they wanted to,
Yep.
cap it. I don't care how much you get from a super PAC.
Overturn.
I don't care how much you get from a super PAC.
Overturn it.
You can only spend 50 million on a presidential run.
Yeah.
We gotta figure out a budget.
Yeah.
But so you're capped there.
It's gotta go.
And
away,
then
whatever they call
The
it,
top 5
501s.
candidates from in any, if there is 5, depending on local or whatever. But in a presidential run, for example, the top 5 candidates from any party or non-affiliated we have blockchain voting technology. We have this technology that's gonna blow your mind.
Just
But
Stop.
the top, no, I'm not gonna stop.
Not
The
right
top
now.
5, the top 5 the top 5 who get to the top of that through blockchain voting, their airtime's capped. So you can have all the money you want, but you can only spend X amount. So what does this do? Organically, now they have to go back out and they have to beg for the vote
Becomes
from,
fair.
they have to kiss babies and shake
Yeah.
hands again.
Yeah.
Because
get on the
now
train and stop at a
They-
city.
Yeah.
the biggest amount of money doesn't matter because they can only spend X amount of dollars.
Right.
So there's no vested interest anymore.
Yeah.
And, lobbying
Not
would
this
have to
media,
be,
dude. And
go ahead and barter,
and here's the thing.
trade your goods and services, but now you gotta out-service the other rather than out-money the other.
Right.
Vince, can I make
We
a
take away,
statement?
we take profit out of
You
politics.
can't have negative ads anymore. They should be
No.
banned. Negative ads should be
Well,
outlawed.
and that's all.
You
part of
can't
it.
talk shit about somebody else. I'm sorry, you can't say, I'm a better candidate because you wear glasses.
Yeah.
So that's.
Look, I can see, she can't.
How are we getting?
We're
there?
doing right now, somebody who can't read. And we're reflecting the economic impact, then we go for the ads. Now, in the
So
process,
how are we withholding the money?
we're not going to yet. We're just
No,
letting them
to
know what
spend.
we have.
That day, we
We're not-
say for a week, you're gonna stock up on toilet paper, you're gonna
It's
get
not-
yourself, you're gonna
Okay.
stop for a week.
People,
Oh,
And have-
not there.
And so you.
No, we're gonna.
No more.
Bill, we're the biggest population of the 23 million is we need bridge.
For a week.
We said,
Good
good way to go green with a huge push. So it started there, but what we got now, and this is just by coincidence, So it started there and I'm like, that's good enough to at least get that going. And then we can really, now the votes are in the hands of the people. Now it's blockchain voting, real time.
He's got a blockchain guy, please stop talking about blockchain.
Shut the fuck, I'm
You're
trying
killing
to,
me.
dude,
You're killing me.
there's people that need to
It's
know
okay.
this shit.
We're good friends.
So we do have the technology and it's called self-sovereign identity.
Mhm.
This is
That's
where
okay.
I had the epiphany on Martin Luther King's dream while I'm talking to the guy who's the architect. Nobody even knows what this is. This is Web 5.0.
Badass.
This guy, he's a genius,
Beyond.
escaped a cult himself. But I can't get
Please
into
stop
too much of
talking
it.
about it.
No, I'm gonna fucking talk about what I wanna talk about.
Mhm.
So to let you know, like his thing with identity, he wants zero money. Like he gave us his software, he's training people, when we bring in developers. So self-sovereign identity, what it does is you create your reputation from the time you're born. You control the flow of that information. It goes out, it doesn't come in, there's not. So right now Zuckerberg data mines, right? Like that's how they made their billions.
Mhm.
Well, a lot of those billions are the people he data mined on because you use their likeness. If you're a celebrity and they use your likeness, you get paid for that. So what this would do is when 33 million of us go into Facebook now, we say, well, you're gonna pay us for our likeness. You can still keep the lion's share. You did the work, you took the risk, but that's gonna flow back into our community. There's no Zuckerberg here, so it just flows back out.
Mhm.
A kid who's born now wouldn't their college education would be paid for by the time they got to college education,
Mhm.
because it's redistribution of wealth without the government's involvement. So there's no shady shit going on. It's just, oh, you're gonna use our likeness because that's the big business right now. Our likeness, data mining, humans. That's what it is. So if you're gonna do it, cool, but we should get a piece of that in perpetuity, and for as long as you
So
use
on
it.
a practical level, what are we doing?
Well,
Talk to me about.
on a practical level.
Yeah, practical level.
Right now, we gotta get to 33 million to get that. We gotta get it to where our votes are
And
leading.
is those 33 million, is it a lot of black people in there, or do you know?
Well,
Who's in this 33 million?
there's everybody. So I hope there's a lot of black people. We haven't got to 33 million yet.
Well, listen, there's
But
about,
how's the word?
there's
getting
about
out?
10-11% black.
We haven't even launched, we're still fledgling. We haven't even launched it yet. We're about to. And this is how we're doing it. Just grassroots.
There's 10,
So
there's 10,
there's
10 to 11% black people in America. I would hope at least 10 to 15% of black people are part of that list.
you never know, right?
I mean,
But
it should be equivalent to.
every
I
black
mean,
person I
because-
talk to, it makes sense. You know,
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, and we're oftentimes at the core of most basic systems that are making everybody else wealthy. When you look at the pension funds and all those type of things, those things are funded by a lot of black folks are in those jobs that then don't have access.
Yeah.
Right? But they are the ones who's funding that, but then politically, who gets it and who gets pensions and who gets the money is controlled by someone else, but it's us putting the money in there.
you know what, Ken, this number is staggering. Do you know how much, so we're considered the fringes, right? We're out here, we're not the 1%, we're out here on the fringes, but we are the majority.
Yeah.
Do you know how much influence we have on policy? And this is a real number by the Brainiacs. You can take a guess at what percentage influence we have.
1%.
It's less.
Point oh.
Yeah, it's like 0.76% or something like that.
I was gonna get 0.
That's how much influence we now have.
I was gonna get.
And that's,
You're not surprising.
And they can't make it in a rigged system.
you can't.
You're-
Well, you can't.
You can sit,
We had
feel it.
Trump
Every
trying
day.
his way, right? And then we had Bernie trying his way.
Yeah.
They both got through. It's Einstein. You can't solve a
Bernie
problem
time.
with the same level of
Bernie
consciousness
time.
that created it. So you're not gonna
Bernie
dismantle the
Bernie
system
Bernie
from within the
Bernie
system.
Yeah.
It has to be the fringes. The fringes have to come in and the fringes have to make a demand.
Yeah.
We're the populace.
Right.
Here's our economic impact today. If we say we're gonna buy it from you for the next month, that's $104 billion. Those corporations can't, the feds won't even feel that because it's gonna take a year to know that we're not paying federal taxes, right? So it's not even gonna get there because if we could be disciplined for 3 months, we would change this country, change it. It would be game on, and it would be for the best, because now blockchain voting, right? So it's popular vote. It's immediate popular vote, and this AI system knows that it's you. It's that individual. And, you know, I'm not gonna get into the technology, but it's there, it exists, it's real, and right now it can't be hacked. When what was it, quantum computing catches up, maybe, you know, but anything's better than the shit we got right now, because that's been hacked. Like, that got hacked back in the Federal Reserve, so anything's better than what we have right now, pretty much. But it's to me, when I was writing this text, and I was like, oh my God, this is, now people can't be judged by anything but the content of their character. It takes race out of the play, it takes criminal record out of it. What you do is who you are. So think about it. If you think there's value in what you do every day, with or without strong parental figures, if you think that, and you're going to gravitate. If I think a camera's on me all the time, I might act a little bit differently. You know what I mean? I might not. You know what I mean? But knowing that you get integrity points or whatever it is, that equates to economic spend, I don't know, something like that. But that's got to be worked out. First, we got to get the powers that be out of control of our votes. So if we can do that, that's number one. If we get there to where we say, look, you can't campaign spend, we're not trying to kick you out. We believe in we the people. It needs to be verbatim now. This needs to include all the people, and we are your focus. That's it. This was never meant to be a business for profit, right? That's not what this was meant to be. So you've dishonored our Constitution long enough. It's time for you to honor our Constitution, because it's a great document if somebody would have followed it. You know what I mean? Like there's things in that document that we could really use to make a utopian style country. You know what I mean? Like at least fashion it in that direction. But and one of the greatest things was the ability to amend. You know what I mean? Because that's where we are right now. And it says right in there that it's our responsibility. It's not your right or privilege to take up arms against a tyrannical government, should it ever. It's your responsibility. So we're just acting on our responsibility to stop you from stealing from everybody. We just keep paying you to fuck us, and we're done. And there's nothing illegal in that. I mean, and when you get 33 million, that's why we want enough people to where we can say, this is what we look like. And you're going to see, honestly, it's everybody, Trump supporters, Bernie supporters, Marianne Williamson, every fledgling party. The majority of Democrats, and like Dave, for example, he don't like the fact that your voice can't be heard. You're quashed by this, you know what I mean? By the RNC and the DNC. Like, that's shitty. Like, there's people that go into politics for good reason, and then they get squashed.
Like any profession, I'm sure there are, and then you get into any profession you go in, most people go into it with the right intentions, teaching, healthcare, anything, and then the system,
tells you what's up.
Yeah.
So we're just coming to rescue them too. Like this is really a rescue job. Yeah. We're coming. We're not trying to overthrow the government. We're coming to rescue you from those forces that have corrupted it, and that's only 1%. Like that's a very small percentage, and they never show their faces. They just kill presidents. You know what I mean? So they're dangerous, and that's why people don't rise up against them, because they're scared. I'm not scared. I don't give a fuck. Like to me, I've always had that mentality. Like, well, my purpose is worth far more than my daily life, right? So
we're scared because we have that scarcity mindset. The whole, I'm gonna cling to the rung of the ladder.
Even if it's the lowest rung of the ladder and people are stepping on things, you know what I mean? Like,
it's a little higher than that guy. So I get to feel better about myself. At least I'm not at the bottom. But really, that's an illusion. We are at the bottom.
Well, we're all at the bottom, except for them.
No letters come with you.
That's what I'm doing. Like, I can't sit comfortably and watch other people suffer. So when I got access, so I just signed a deal. My company's international now. That's a lot. There's going to be a lot of money flowing into that company. It's going to flow right back out into this. You know what I mean? Like this play came to me. Somebody could take this and capitalize on this, right? Is there somebody who could use this in the wrong direction to make money and hoard resources?
Trump, Biden, Bernie, you follow me? Like, it doesn't matter.
Anybody.
So many people,
Ken,
so many people.
Ken,
Yeah,
well,
right,
he will,
yeah.
he doesn't care if he dies.
No.
He's disrupting banks. Like this guy.
Please stop talking.
No, I won't stop talking about it. I'm the fucking guy.
He's not.
I don't care. I talk to Ken all the fucking time. I know what I can
say. Let it out in the wild.
Yes, it's not even in the fucking wild. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway,
It's not in the wild.
Anyway, this guy,
You're letting out.
no, I'm not.
Premature.
So, no, I can't tell the story because that's a bad.
Killing me.
That's
It's under NDA.
So anyway, that's where we kind of linked up, is that we had the same thing where we didn't really care about, our lives weren't as valuable as what it, and I saw it in them. And then we dropped sovereign identity. I'm like, I don't know. Blockchain voting is awesome. And I just didn't know to that second conversation. Then that second conversation happened. I'm like, you can't, it's based on what you divulge, what you.
So what are you doing to duplicate yourself or to keep the movement going if something worse to happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's, and Glenn said something, Glenn always says some powerful shit, but, he said it at service. I haven't been in a while, and I had to go Martin Luther King Day. I was like, I gotta get my ass in there. I need to hear something, because as soon as you have a good idea, or people think it's a good idea, and then you just throw the work aspect or the risk aspect, you know what I mean? Now you're a cancer, like you said. You become a cancer to some people, and it's okay, that's fine. But Glenn spoke about, he's like, look, when Martin Luther King died, he was not happy. He was frustrated. He had anxiety and depression. He was, he didn't know if somebody was gonna.
He didn't want to do it.
He didn't. Well,
He was called, but
he didn't know if somebody was gonna carry it on. Like, is this
Yeah.
in vain? Is this what? So, to be honest, I haven't really thought about that. I just thought, I don't think nobody's killing me yet, but they do kill presidents, and they kill people that are, all the time. Like, they just killed somebody that my friend Angie knows over in, waited for him to get in Lebanon, that had this, I swear, it happens all the time, dude, all the fucking time, like mysterious car accident. It happens. It's real. The shit happens.
you're just making that shit up.
Okay, I'm just making it, fucking guy. But he'll be talking conspiracy theories tomorrow.
Making shit.
Anyway,
9/11, let's talk about that.
so
Come on.
there's a real risk, right? You risk first and foremost, you're crazy. You're crazy.
That's the first one.
Trying to demolish character. I'm like, well, I've demolished mine. You can't do nothing about it. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are you gonna do?
That's what was done to Marianne Williamson when she was running for president. They went for the crazy woman, hysterical, woo-woo crystal ball, laughed at, they laughed at her, and then once you're laughed at and crazy, you're not taken seriously, and it was like, she
How
was
did Trump
one
get
of the most
presidency then?
profound people on the stage.
Yeah,
Because he was the craziest.
Her book's
I've ever
amazing.
seen.
Oh,
Politics will get presidency.
On a show called The Apprentice, that made him,
So that's why.
people think that he was. running for president.
That's why I keep bringing people, because I am meeting the people I think you're fired. That's why I keep bringing people in the fold, They're so rabid,
Yeah.
because it's all
stupid
without
are we
a
today?
collective
Yeah.
of, we
I-
have
I
a
just
solid
keep
core
my
of people
mouth
right
shut.
now, of all different races, all different affiliations,
Listen, we have 5-10 minutes, guys, for the rest of the cast.
no, we don't. No, we don't.
All right,
But, yeah, we'll end it.
that was good. It's about 10 minutes.
No, we'll end it whenever,
Okay.
yeah.
So what else?
No, that,
Why are we here?
well, really, it's that
MLK.
honoring MLK,
Right.
and I think it's I know people do his work, right? We have the ability to do it on a wide scale right now, but it's got to be collectively. Like, we all have to come together and realize that we're going to have this power for, I think, a very short window. I think you see what's happening with net neutrality. Everybody's shit's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna stop the flow of information at some point, wherever they are. We're not gonna have access to it. And Elon, why he's not that good, I don't know. He's too popular, maybe, but he's got that's why he bought Twitter. He's got his own satellites. You can't knock him off the
I'm
grid.
surprised.
He's got his own grid. So that's why he's gonna be a powerful ally, but I wanna, I wanna have
You
the.
put the internet into Ukraine's hands. I mean, seriously, who does that? Russia is like, knock out your internet. He's like, I got you. It like brings internet back in a day.
Yeah.
He was crazy. He was like, fuck
He's got his
you.
own satellites.
Boom, internet. It
So
I have a question
was
about
crazy.
MLK. I was thinking of how,
Anyways,
and some of the lineage or events, how, out of curiosity, has your understanding of him and his work evolved from learning about him as a kid to, to now?
it's night and day, night and day. So I had that out of body experience. I didn't hear the teacher say he died. I just knew he did. Like there's a white flash, and then I was like back in my body.
Mhm.
I didn't know what it was. It was just I remember asking my friend John Hopkins, like, what happened? It's like he said something like, "Can't you see, white boy? It's like something. We got to go to." Can't remember what it was. It was something about recess or whatever. But I really left that. Like I wasn't there. Like but I knew that he died.
Mhm.
And the day before we had learned about slavery.
Mhm.
And I remember blurting out in class saying, "What the fuck?" I'd never cussed in my life.
Mhm.
Like this is, you know what I mean? Like it was
who
a
would do
natural.
that?
What's that?
Who would do that?
It didn't make sense to me.
Right, who would do that?
So, but when I learned about Martin Luther King's, he was kind of like you said, like this mascot of the civil rights. I didn't really know what the nuts and bolts of the civil rights. I didn't know the suffering. Because we were taught that America, look, we freed the slaves. Look, you know what I mean? It was all bubble gum and fucking hugs, and you know what I mean. So when Act Now was a really big thing for me, a really big transition, because what I did was I dug into well, maybe I don't know about racism, what I think I know about racism. Maybe my teaching's been off. So when I started digging into that, and I'm like, oh, because I used to say, well, America didn't invent racism or slavery. We didn't invent slavery. We invented racism. You know what I mean? And I didn't know that. With those things that come into me this late, and when I thought I knew everything, was so necessary and profound. And it
Thought I knew
took me back into this whole new understanding of, like today, when I talk about, because of what we're trying to accomplish right now, I can understand, that's a logical thing. I can understand what he may have went through, and I can I can peer into the abyss of where he was, right? But I can never go there. I can't, it's not possible for me to go there. So so to understand that about him now makes him, when I said that comment about he's like God, or Jesus,
Yeah.
like that in this generation, for me, that's he embodied everything, that the principles of unconditional love, but also being militant with it. Like if you read the Nag Hammadi, you see what Jesus was militant with his, he wasn't fucking around. And that's how Martin Luther King was, and it's just mad respect and like a person like that to have existed on this planet in close proximity to the same time as me makes me feel like these things are possible. Like if we come together now, these things are possible, and my life has no value because Zach was. He's like, "What are you doing this for?" Because really, there's a multi-billion-dollar play in Canada right now that I could just go fucking sit on a boat and do whatever for the rest of my life if that's what I wanted to do. Not right now, but real soon.
No,
That's not what it's about.
ever.
What about you, Denise?
No. look,
For me, it's the difference is that Martin Luther King has been talked about. To me, it's more or less that he's a mascot, and
That sounds
with
like
me-
that sounds like a negative thing when you say
it
that.
does. It feels negative because I think we get away from we get away from the actual movement and where we are in society and how we can do the same thing that he was doing in this society. But then on the other hand, there are people right now, every day, that are doing the same things that you just described. And a lot of Black folks is doing that right now. A lot of them are in politics. They, they have become wealthy, and they're using their platforms, for the movement in their way. And I think we need to get to the point that we don't expect everybody to look the same on how they implement that movement. Like you just said, that, many roads to the same thing, but be able to respect one another in our areas, so whereas I used to be in social services, now I'm in financial services, you know what I'm saying? And so being in that business takes me it's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different of resource, right, that I have. And even with helping families that I'm helping in a financial way, as opposed to how I used to help them in social services, is totally different. And helping them financially is more empowering than helping them in the social service system that I was in. That system is broken. It is broke and broken, right? And financial services
That's a whole nother podcast.
is where you can have leverage. You can have leverage and you can acquire allies. And that's where Martin Luther King was. Economics.
And
Economics. He was like,
that's
the
when that man got
resistance
shot.
was in the pockets.
That's when that
The
man got shot.
resistance was
Once you
in
get into
the money.
and that's
the whole play.
Listen to this.
So
Vince.
that is,
Once you get into money, you're gonna get shot.
but that's the difference. And
Because it actually does impact.
on my level, I'm not out there being a martyr, but on one family at a time, I'm starting to help people create generational wealth, especially in my community. I'm starting to get them to be able to insure their Black babies before they become uninsurable, right? And they can take part in investments and things that you can put $25 freaking in them, and by the time you're 45, you can be a millionaire with compound interest. People don't understand those things, but if you're not taught it at a young age and get involved in it, once you start having interaction with police, interaction with most of our Black children are diagnosed with ADHD or asthma, and then they become, that tracks them through their whole life. And then they cannot get in a product that will give them cash value, that will help them raise compound interest, that will help them to leave their family, things that will help them to living benefits for their people, right? Because a Black man is going to have
It's like an hourglass.
some kind of contact with law enforcement, right? Whether that's on his driving record, whatever. Guess what? How you get approved for insurance? One of the ways is to have a clean driving record. So it could be something that was generated by something that you did, or by you were profiled.
Just pull
It's
over.
so mysterious. Yeah, I never thought about that.
And the other thing
Double
is,
insurance,
if
Right.
more Black babies and especially our Black males, if they had $1 million policies and they dropped every time one of them got shot, I guarantee you they would stop shooting our Black men, because that would turn the insurance world and economics upside down.
You got it. That's fantastic.
Because these small lawsuits that are won and
Yeah.
all of that and sending them to jail, that's not doing crap or nothing. They have money that they already have a certain amount of money, like doctors have malpractice insurance that they're paying those off.
probably they're collecting it from all the profiling and speeding tickets and.
Exactly.
And
It's being
arresting
collected,
it. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, that also became a big business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Policing.
The
Exactly.
Just stop it all. I mean, truth be told, stop it all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if we didn't have the stops in the first place,
Yeah.
you wouldn't need the insurance.
Well, that's an
It's sort of
statement on my
across the
property and
face.
physical happiness.
You follow what I'm saying?
So why not get it as young as possible?
Right?
Right, but right
Yeah.
now, I've been in the last, month or so, have a lot of families who have young children, have, dependents under 18. And it's shocking, like some of the things and diagnoses that their kids have, so I'm got 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, a 17-year-old, that things are coming up in their record that was like when they was babies.
You're right.
Medications on their thing when they were babies, and they're like, we don't even remember that. No, they ain't had no hospitalization, they had no episodes of asthma, nothing. But it's coming up in there because I'm freaking trying to get them insured in a cash value life insurance policy.
And the behavioral health.
You see?
I read it.
Yes,
Yeah,
behavioral, mental illness.
Now,
Yes.
is that a black, white, or a health issue? You follow what I'm saying? Like, is that a skin
But
issue?
the
or is
health
that just
issues
health?
of black folks is,
No, I'm
it is
saying,
a black thing.
If a white
Poverty
baby, if a white baby goes through the same thing, I grew up in Oak Park, if a white baby goes through the same
White
thing.
babies do, but they're.
If white babies are dealing with the same thing, is it actually the skin color? Are they looking at us, because the healthcare system is broke?
Yeah, it's broke,
Just straight broke.
but imagine that it's broke for
Another
you,
podcast.
and imagine that it's triple broke for us. Because
Or it's
we're,
working the
it's
way
broken
it's
shit for me.
designed to do.
because we're more or less, we're gonna be more highly diagnosed with all of those things that if you just have a cough, they're gonna say you asthmatic.
Yeah.
So how is it that so many black kids and black families are saying that, oh, we grew out of it?
Well, that happens.
It happens,
You're right.
but
you
not on that
had-
alarming rate.
I had a young man who was,
Not on that alarming rate.
college
Drugs
age,
are bad, huh?
bipolar, and he said, oh, that's from when I was 8.
Right, you're not even supposed to diagnose kids. You're not supposed to schizophrenia, none of that. You're not supposed to even diagnose them
I said,
before the age of 12.
It's like saying you got a peanut
You know,
allergy,
that's
like,
not-
like, just eat more peanuts. You know what I mean? Like, you'll get past it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
If you
But-
get hungry,
But it adversely affects us
Yeah,
more.
I thought it was.
And what I'm saying is that what I'm in right now is to add financial empowerment to folks, literacy and empowerment. And what I'm saying to you is that most of my cases, like I have to go through hoops, and they don't have a name, or they don't have that says, okay, this is a black person. But I'm telling you, I had a white family and I insured 5 kids in that family. The parents are uninsurable, right? Their kids all have certain little things. They got insured like
Wow.
right away, because there were certain things that were not in their records, but that family and those kids are going through. And so same with the black
so you got
family.
that, now you get another family.
You got another family, right? With things, like I said, happened
asthma.
years
Yeah,
ago.
way back in the day, 3-year-old peanut allergy.
And they didn't never have nothing, and they're now athletes and
Yeah,
active
they're
and
fine,
all
right,
kinds of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
But they're uninsurable.
But now they're
Or
uninsurable.
But yeah, harder to insure, and they are, taking us through, okay, well, why did this happen, and why did that happen, and why was they, or mixing their medication rates up. I had a mother who she's got lupus and some kind of medication that they had on her baby son's records. It was like, he's not taking that medication. That's a medication for lupus, and he's 5 years old. Are you kidding me? That's her records, right? And so, but it took like 3 months to get him approved as a freaking 5-year-old. 3 months.
I hear what you were saying about, making MLK a mascot,
Yeah,
and I think in some ways we make Jesus a mascot.
Everything's a mascot. in this
Yeah.
country.
And
I
then
mean,
we can, like
that's
you're
right.
saying, add an element of service into your profession, that if you're,
whatever you're doing.
whatever you're doing doesn't have an element of service, then you're not, then he's just a mascot. He's just
Yeah.
a
Right,
guy.
yeah, that's
Just
it.
wherever you are,
Yeah,
wherever you are, whatever field you're in, whatever career you're in, whatever you're doing. If you're not doing something to better our community, to add service, to make our lives as a collective better, that's where I see that you're not into Martin Luther King.
Rather than
Because that's all he was
That's the
about.
work. That was the
That's
work.
all he was about.
Yeah,
I tell my kids, you only have one responsibility, really, and that's to illuminate the space you occupy while you have the miracle of life to occupy it. That's it. Just be lighter for you.
Hey.
Light.
good people, I have pizza waiting upstairs, wrap it up, going up. We had pizza for dinner tonight, it's sitting on the
Well,
porch.
this was what you.
Yeah, it's good point. Good night.
It's really just one important conversation anyway, but yeah, so I just wanted to get the band back together. No, but
right,
it's, this We the People thing, that was, I knew there was a correlation, I didn't know what it was. But I just knew it seemed right, so I just kept plugging away at it. And then I stumbled onto Kent, with self-sovereign identity, and I was like, I swear to God, I collapsed when I was, cause I'm like, I've never really thought about it till this text, but this is, and I was like, what the fuck? Cause it was so I don't know if I make it happen, or if I'm just a mouthpiece for now, and somebody, cause I don't know the technology. I got this medical device that it's an early detection medical device. It's to test for like 35 debilitating diseases. Takes 10 minutes. It's non-invasive. It would take you 4 days to get the same test at Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
Or whatever, University of Michigan Hospital. So he's fighting right now. He's got big pharma pitted against big insurance because they're about to approve his food line with Medicare. So there's things happening right now that this next medical device is a bad motherfucker, and it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? There's things that are just gonna happen because it's time,
Yeah.
and this just seems like the right thing right now. It's like, we don't have to be violent. We don't have to call you names, because that ain't gonna do nothing. We're just hate, like Martin Luther, hate begets hate.
Yeah.
It's all it
But
does.
will we have the strong enough voice to be that movement with what's going on? Because I see a collision course right now.
With what?
It just with our society is divided.
That's the whole
We're
point of this.
divided.
The whole point of this is to,
who's the puppeteer?
because what we're doing is,
Divider.
yeah, that's right. So there's no divider here. So
Mhm.
everything that you think about the two-party system, what our lives have been up to this point, we gotta throw it out. Like, so if I start thinking about, I don't wanna be in politics, well, no, I don't wanna be in this system.
Right.
Like, I'd be a good leader in another system,
What's
right?
outside
Where
of the
we,
two-party
where it was truly democratic and there was the power of the people, and I have no problem getting into, heavy heated debates and political with my neighbor, if it's a well fought battle with my neighbor. You know what I mean? I'll see you next time, fucker. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but right now it's people we don't even want. Where'd they come from? Who's that?
Right.
No, I didn't vote for that, but you know what I mean? What's that tax from? So what we have here is it's called I can get into the whole details, but there's in every incorporated place throughout America, there would be a tax equanimity oversight representative, every place. So you're getting the voice of the people in real time. You got to vote. No Fed passes any tax or policy without the communities chiming in. You know what I mean? So this is all.
And how will you educate the people on what the issues are and what they're voting on?
Well, then that's we will be deciding the vote. You know what I mean? We're not going to get toward legislation. You won't filibuster. You can't filibuster now because it doesn't matter. There's no two parties. You know what I mean? Once you eliminate that shit, the filibuster's gone. Like all the tactics they use right now to position, really, they do nothing. They create reasonable doubt and throw shit at each other and then they know one or the other's gonna win.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they don't give a shit. So we eliminate the two-party system and make our votes count again, and we're bringing representatives to the table. It's different. It's what the country was supposed to be.
Or like ranked choice voting without parties.
That's what, I mean, listen, if you have blockchain voting, it's whoever, you can be whoever you want to be,
Right.
and just say, I don't like what's going on. The spend is capped anyway, so I know that they can't outspend me.
Mhm.
It's gonna be, we're gonna have to get out there and you're gonna have to out nice me. You're gonna have to out baby kiss
Yeah,
me, you know?
grassroots instead of kissing the ass of the corporate donors. Yeah, which is really what.
Your money's no good here, sorry, guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Keep that shit,
Yeah.
go spend it on making your product better, because you're gonna have to convince the people now.
Right.
Because there's no legislator that's gonna say that shit that you're giving that baby that's not allowed anymore, you know? And what does that do organically?
Right.
Now people feel involved again.
Mhm.
They feel like they have some dominion over their neighborhoods. And that's really where we need to be. That's what this whole play is about. It's let's show them where it hurts. This is what we keep. This is our economic, we own this portion of the economy, $104 billion a month. And you know who's not gonna like it when we spend it elsewhere? The corporations, DTE, Exxon Mobil, like all these corporations that we're spending on right now, they're not gonna like it. They're not gonna have anything to bribe you with. You know what I mean? So they can stay, you can stay, but you're gonna listen to us. And we're gonna start doing some common sense things in terms of politics, you know? Politics aren't bad. What they've done to this two-party system and they've indoctrinated people to is that people in this movement will say things like, well, what about 5 parties? Then what if this minority gets to the, look, you're thinking of the two-party system. You're thinking of a two-party system. There's more than that. There's so much more. So if you fragment the vote to where people, you know, there's 5 senses. That's why I said 5. You know, there's all different angles that people will come at things. If you take that black and white feel out of it, people won't think black and white. You know, like Bernie wants to come in. Oh, here's Phil. We got Phil. I'm glad he can make it on. I know he's with the family right now. Come, Phil. We're coming to get you, bud. There he is.
Hey. Hi, Phil.
He's not, his song's not on yet.
You know he's smiling like that too, right?
Right.
There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Phil.
How are you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you all as well. Sorry I'm late. Family activities
Right.
and well-timed the repair to our washing machine has been down for a week. We've been waiting on the repair to come, so I've been trying to juggle everything that's been kicking my butt. So
I'm glad you can make it on. We as we do, we had some pretty good conversation. You know, we talked about Martin Luther King, obviously, his legacy and about the work is kind of where we put the focus. It's what did he do? What was he about really? When he says he's kind of become a mascot, right? This caricature of American folklore now. You know what I mean? Like I see that. But if you look at the work, if you understand the work and what, like that's what we need to do right now. Like it's even more poignant because we're so far gone. But it's disguised, right? Like now there's an illusion there, and they keep you on this 80-hour work week where you're so now it's even more. It's more, what do you want to say? It's deceitful, but it's I don't know. It's the venom is what do you? I can't think of the word right now, but I'd rather I'd rather have somebody tell me fuck you to my face than smile and know that they're plotting behind my back. That's what's going on right now. It's like we can't even tell who's who and what's what, and then they got us fighting each other. So.
Right. Bill, I had asked Lenise and Vince about their understanding of MLK, how it evolved from what you learned when you were in elementary school or at home, and then how it's evolved through your life now as you are today.
Well, for me, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a hero. I remember first learning about MLK Jr. in this date in Bates Academy when I went to school there, the old one, not the new one, off Dickerson, and you know, and it was a big deal at Bates Academy, and we learned an awful lot. I don't remember the first things I've learned. Sorry, I got kids, so I know if you hear a little background, it's just the family. But I remember it being important because it was someone who was walking around and fighting for people, you know, that looked like me. And as I got older, how it evolved is I'll talk like, you know, my late uncle, his view of the world was way different than my view of the world, you know, as I was growing up. And I can remember talking to my uncle, and he would just say, you know what, you can't trust them, referring to white people, you know what I mean? And he would say, you know, everything that was going on in the world, whatever the case may be, you know, in the long run and in the end, they're gonna try and screw you over. Well, as I found out, you know, because that was me, young me, as I found out, that was because my grandfather, his father, ended up going to prison for 2 years for bribery, because he was a contractor and was, you know, doing the pay to play thing in Detroit back when he was just trying to get some contracts to feed his family. And, you know, the person who basically cut the deal, you know, didn't do any jail, and my grandfather did. And so that really shaped how my uncle felt about the world and all that good stuff like that. So getting back to Martin Luther King, you know what I'm saying, he was somebody who was fighting for us, you know. And, you know, my uncle would always say, you know what, Martin Luther King was great. You know, he had a good place in this world, you know, good place in society. But my uncle also, and sometimes sided with Malcolm X. You know, sometimes it's not about, you know, turning the other cheek. You know, he would say sometimes it's a call for action. And it was just more so along the lines of not necessarily being the aggressor, but definitely not letting someone be the aggressor to you, you know. So for me, Martin Luther King represented an idea and an ideal society of how it should look. You know, we should be able to work together. We should be able to make our way throughout this world without having to deal with things such as race. I shouldn't have to teach my sons, my daughters, you know, proper way to deal with the police if pulled over, so that, you know, they don't mistake you for a hostile person and blah, blah, and so on and so forth. You know, I shouldn't have to teach my children about microaggressions from different people, you know, different types of people, different races of people that still happen, you know, to this day to me. So, but it represents the idea of what society could be and should be. I mean, hell, there's plenty of people in the Black community that I've talked to that said that while they do love the message that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Stood for and represented, they also felt like desegregation, excuse me, hurt a lot of the Black communities in terms of the businesses that we had, you know, on our own.
Go on. Yeah. Go on.
So there are, you know, there's a lot, there's a lot, you know, greatness, obviously, greatness that came with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But there's also a lot of things that affected the Black community in many different ways. And I mean, hell, for all the desegregation that went on, we still live in a segregated society in many ways. But you know, but it's under the guise of, you know, redlining. You know, not as much now, but it was, you know, to the point where, you know, we still couldn't buy. I mean, hell, even before Dr. Martin Luther King. I mean, think about it. People fighting in World War II and coming back from the war, you know, and promised the GI Bill, and for whatever reason, you know, I don't have to say it, but you know, they're not able to buy the same land and houses that some of the other people from war were able to. They're not able to go to college and get that paid for,
Blood up,
and,
just like everybody else.
and
I
like
learned that
everybody
from this
else.
Group, and that we were saying that was, sickening to us.
Yeah.
I learned that from you all, that fact, so, yeah.
Yeah,
You women keep mentioning ACT now. I'd like to hear a little bit about ACT now. It seems to be something that's important to you.
Well,
Can I hear a
it's-
little bit about it?
It's a group that started out of Renaissance Unity. It was a group around the time that George Floyd murder happened. That group came together to address social injustice and to work through that. I'm not sure the last time they met, but we kind of dissolved. Especially when we got back to post COVID and work and all that. But the remnants is still around. The remnants is still around, but it was really a environment and a safe space to learn on all sides of it and to have real discussions about racism, trauma, all the things that we were going through and that we were feeling really acutely when that happened, which was just really just made it come front center on things that have been going on all the time. And so the group doesn't meet anymore, but like I said, the remnants is still around. But our particular pod, we were kind of the radical pod of the group. We were kind of the radical pod of the group, and so that's why we're still we're still trying to get the word out there on the most
Is
basic.
there a website we can give?
Yeah, I think our stuff is still up. It should be is it actnow.com? Is it still
Actnow.org?
I don't know.
I don't know if it's still it's
We'll find
up or
it.
not.
We'll
We'll
find
find it.
Track
We'll
it
show
down.
you the links.
Actnow.something.
Because it had a whole lot of information and education and all of that. But really what came out of that, and in particular for our group, is that for the first time we had an environment that we could really talk about some real issues. We could say what we needed to say. We could make mistakes. In that, and like I said, because there's a lot of things that as a Black woman, I would not say in front of white people at all. We were able to say those things in that group. And as Black people, we were able to allow the white people in the group to express themselves and come to one thing. So that's kind of why we keep mentioning Act Now, because that's how all of us kind of came together, is from Act Now. But that was a real, like I said, the first time that I felt in a, so to speak, multicultural group that we weren't just being nice and politically correct. We were actually
Being real.
and talking about some real stuff, but still being respectful.
Right. We need that so much.
Yeah,
today.
still being respectful and really helping people do the work. Because that's all it is. It's just people are not willing to do the real work to even think about, our own misgivings, our own preconceptions, our own, trauma responses, all of those things. A lot of times you don't want to even admit it. Let's more, work through it and actually hear somebody else and hear, for the first time I was able to, like I said, in front of it was a few white men in the group. And that's the group that I'm the furthest away from, as far as connection, all of that. And to be able to, and from all ages too. There was some older white men, right? Which
Harley
That's like-
driving.
Right, but that's almost like taboo. Like white men, older white men, like always think that they're gonna come out of their mouth gal or something like that. And like it's over, like we're not talking no more. But but it was a place where we all was able to really express ourselves. You know, someone like Phil coming into the group, he came in, you know, more or less the group.
Phil, nice to meet you.
Yeah, he came into the group and he added a whole nother dynamic to the group that we loved. And like I said, he was in our pod. So so it was you know, it was a real good experience that really has changed my life and how I move forward, and how I've been saying all this time that wherever you are, you know, for me, Martin Luther King represents that service aspect of making whatever space you're in better. And whoever you're communicating with.
At any cost.
Right. And so
Doesn't
that,
have to be to that extent, but it
Yeah.
make it better.
but make it better, and always try to you know, come to the most common ground, because that's the thing. So if you stay off, you know, if you stay in your own point of view, of your own experience, because our experience is real. What Phil just talked about is real, of having to teach our Black babies, you know what I'm saying, how to go out of their front door. It is something that white folks don't have to do. They don't, you know, they don't have to do that.
You gotta, listen, when you bump into a popo, here's what you need to do. You're like,
I mean, and
never.
it's not like it's a thing, it's life and death. It's not even,
No,
It's
listen,
not
never run,
yeah,
never run.
but it's not even
Go dig in your pocket.
something that, you know, why is it that we have to go through that,
I don't know.
you know?
I don't know.
I mean, we know why, but my thing is that, you know, me and Phil, with having our experience in this group, we are able to say those type of things and not feel judged, not feel even too feeling pity, because we don't want that neither. Like I said, we don't want nobody feeling guilty. We don't want no pity. We want allies.
Right.
And this group was the first time that I really felt like we could build allies.
Yeah, because pity is still so distant. Like,
It
I'm
is.
so sorry for you
Right.
while I stay over here. Instead of, you know, holding space and allowing and, you know, acknowledging the fragility that you usually get with
Mhm.
white people when you want to bring that up, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, I think we created a lot of trust. I hope that we created a lot of trust.
Mhm. Yeah. So Phil, going from here, what do you, you know, how do you feel like you're gonna perpetuate the movement, and you know, about we the people that you know, that we're trying to do, like, where do you see your part in all of that?
I see my part really trying to focus in on economics. When I look at groups that when I look at groups that make changes in this world in any way, shape, or form, they have the economic power that they wield together to sway people's opinions, no matter who that group is. And quite frankly, I think that that's what needs to happen. You know, just talking about, you know, I a lot of things that I've heard and I've seen, you know, there's, you know, us as regular folks, we can affect a lot of these companies' decisions with just truly making an effort to just decide to not share our money, you know, with them.
Right, yeah, bravo.
Yeah.
That's what the whole play is.
You might have just, can I write that down and make that Vince's like MO, modus operandi?
Well, I mean, I think that should be all of ours. Frankly, we need to, if instead of getting lip service from these companies, you know, because truthfully what happens is something will happen, and then, you know, everybody is outraged for a month and a half, and then, you know, and then we go right back to it, you know. And what we need to do is we need to, you know, really set an example of a company. And I'm not saying which company it should be, but if we want some change, you know, that's the examples, you know, set an example with them and say, you know what, we're just going to not spend our money, you know, until these changes happen. And then that's what'll change this world, because truthfully, we the people, I'll say that, Vince, we have the power. We just have to collectively wield it.
Well, you're
And-
talking what the movement is, the ticker at 33 million, we hold $104 billion. That's our economic impact between us 33 million. That's their numbers, just using it against them. We're showing it on the ticker. This is our economic impact. We want you to cap campaign spend, period. Let's eliminate the two-party system first, not the Democrats and Republicans, they can stay, but the two-party system, not open it up to everybody. And here's what our economic impact is. You see it. These are your numbers. If we decide that we don't want to spend it in the places you predict anymore, well, sorry about your luck, man. We're not, this ain't a coup. We believe in we the people, verbatim, modern, we the people. And that's it. Honor our Constitution, or we're going to buy somewhere else because you're selling us shit and we're done.
I'm gonna take a quick poll. Okay, Phil, how many parties do you think ran for the last presidential election? Take a guess.
I can't quite remember from me voting,
Yes, too.
but I believe it was 4 or 5.
Take a guess. Take a guess. You already know the
I
number.
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, he knows the number.
that's all we
Take a
saw was
guess.
the 4 or 5.
Hold on, take a guess.
Probably about 10.
1,800.
Wow.
1,800 parties ran. 1,800. Look it up.
Oh,
Okay,
Look
so
that
I
up.
don't see it
That-
nowhere.
how many did you see?
Yeah, about 5, yeah.
Maybe
So
the
Jordan-
Green Party,
Yeah.
the Independents, the whatever, like, you know, we got a handful.
But
of
you're right,
these.
so
Yeah.
it's, the only way we win is the pocketbook.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
it doesn't have to be violent, it just has to be, we gotta be disciplined. We gotta realize who our community is. It's not them. They're not the people. We the people. So.
And we need to take care of our community, Vince.
Right.
Right.
Eclectic, and we gotta show, like, all the people you think should be fighting, we just joined together and shown you what our economic impact is. If you don't think we're gonna exercise our ability to spend it where we want, well, you're mistaken.
Yep,
But we,
I'm done with this two-party system.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
So it still kind of brought us to the same conclusion that we were at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
About to end.
Phil, I'll tell you what, I can't believe it.
Right before you came.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Why are we doing on time? Seriously, we're way overdue.
So, but it brought us back to the same thing, that economics. That's it. That's the key story.
they don't have jobs, they don't have corporations, if we don't spend.
So Phil, can I ask you a question then?
Mhm.
How do we bridge the gap? How do we get to a point in which that racism is not part of the conversation, but rather that we are humans working together for a unified mission for better life in general, right? Our children, education, healthcare, poverty, food supply, gas, power, all the stuff that we have to deal with on a daily basis as human beings, that we need to make sure clean water, you know what I mean? Like, how do we bridge that gap?
I'm gonna be honest with you. In my mind, it's actual education. So many people have no idea about this, but race is relatively new. It used to be nationality, still people Irish, yeah,
Right, whatever, yeah.
Moorish,
Of course, yeah.
people talked about where they were from, and it wasn't necessarily a race thing, but it was created to kind of put forth the different classes and kind of make people have a reason to work against each other. So that's kind of how things, evolved in that aspect. I truly believe that.
But how do we get past it, man?
Get rid of the two-party system.
No, man, it's so,
Yes.
look, so in India, right, so you guys are aware of the
Yeah.
caste system, right? there's 5 classes in India, and it's based on basically the color of your skin. It's crazy. The lighter the skin, the more up you are on the chain. And the darker the skin, the more likely you're gonna be shoveling dirt. And they call you out, like it's called the caste system, right? And if you're down in the dumps, you ain't getting up with the light-skinned Indians. You're not doing it. It's not happening. You'll be ostracized. And it's accepted in that country. So when you deal with a world in which that you've got countries that accept racism, have it in their policies, it's there.
This could be a global model.
Stop dealing with them.
You follow what I'm saying, man? It's kind of crazy. I feel like we're working against like a mentality where it's ingrained in us to be and think a certain way, which is just not right. I look at you as an equal. I'm sorry. I don't look at you as different.
You know, though, it's not ingrained in us. I gotta
It's not.
challenge you on that because I have a brand new baby daughter.
That's what I'm saying.
I have a brand new baby daughter that does not know
Doesn't
that
know it.
she's female, does not know that she's mixed race, does not know that she's chubby or skinny or anything.
No, there's no way.
Anything.
There's love of life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. She's pure love. So it's not
So it's
ingrained in
taught.
us.
So it's
taught
taught.
to us. Yeah, it's taught to us. And it can be.
All right, so Phil, so like you said, so you know, so it's an education issue. So Phil got it right again.
Well,
Here's
we have
my thing.
a system that
Well-
has one against the other dictate our curriculum.
Well, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are told what to like and what not to like by different entities. We'll just call it entities. But the truth of the matter is that so many black people, so many white people, so many, of other national, they have no idea that a lot of times you're dealing with the same stuff, just in different areas. You know what I mean? Poor people deal with poor shit. Basically, I hate to say it like that, but that's what happens. And when you don't have hope, when you don't have money, when you don't have things that occupy your time, most times people get in trouble. And that's the crux of the whole matter. And then they deal with the police, and then once you're in the penal system, you're getting screwed over, one way or the other. If you happen to be black in America, sometimes you might get screwed over a little bit more than others, but that's the system, the way it's set up. So it is what it is. How do we get past that? We need to keep utilizing our vote, and we need to keep putting people out of office. I mean, longtime senators who push that BS agenda, honestly, we need to go. We need all the new, younger group to get things together. So
We've
I jumped
seen a
on here.
lot in the last 2 years, Phil, I'll be honest, with Pelosi stepping out, that's a big move. Boehner, when he stepped down, I was like, thank God. And then Pelosi finally stepping down, I mean, seriously, dinosaur, get out. And look, I love Pelosi, don't get me wrong. But she needs to step down and let new blood come in and have a voice. And I'm sorry, man, but these old people, I'm not saying old white people, but they are. These old people need to get out of seat and
I'm not
let
sure
the
evolved
new
like
generation,
already.
let the new
Right.
generation
He
speak.
was old. I mean,
I'm
we can't
sorry,
really
man,
even
but
divide
like they
the
need to get out.
ethnicity.
They can't even operate their phone. You tell me they can work their phone. That should be the litmus test for a senator. If you can work your phone, you can keep your job.
So I apologize for being late to the group, but this day has really been a family day for us, and I'm being called right now. So
Yeah,
I got to
we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up, Phil.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
Phil,
Lon.
for dropping
Yeah, it was great, dude. Listen, I'll tell you what, man, thank you for joining. It was fantastic. I enjoyed your conversation greatly.
next time we have something, I'll be better prepared where I can join earlier. So
Well, yeah, let's talk on the We the People thing, because you're already in the flow of it, and I think it's gonna work.
If you're local, stop by. The table's nice. It's finally got it set up.
yeah, it looks like a nice setup. So I definitely will. And like I said, I apologize that I have to run, but I'm gonna chime back in and watch
Your
this.
family.
All right, let's do a wrap up.
All right, Bill.
Thank you, Phil.
Good seeing you, man.
Right, Phil.
All right, wrap it up. I got pizza, hot pizza upstairs if you're hungry.
Mentioned the future twice.
Anywho,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, that's it. That's really what's the gist of it. On, you know, he's the one who suggested the MLK. I'm so bogged down in everything that's going on that I didn't, of course we should have one. You know, because it didn't mean to be, but the only real work is his work. Like, that's what real people do, like you said. Real people they're out there doing it anyway. They're
Yeah.
just trying to make it better for their neighbor, their kid,
Yeah.
whoever. You're just trying to make it better for somebody, including yourself. And you're illuminating your space, whatever that is for you, you know what I mean? So,
Like that, eliminating.
and that's what this is, on a
All
wide
all
level.
I wanna share with, about MLK is that, I learned yesterday, that he was a prolific writer, didn't know that, and he wrote a decent amount of books. I've
Mhm.
never read one of them, and I plan to buy some, so if I were to give anything today for MLK, is go buy a handful of his books, it'll support his family, it'll move the movement, and it kind of pushes his legacy forward, so that's what I plan to do. And just learn what he was talking about. I'm sure his words are much more profound in his books than they were within his speeches. I'm sure he
No,
was
his
held
speeches are
back.
pretty poignant.
I'm sure he was held back. But his books, though, on the other hand, I think it was probably a little bit more forward.
Yeah. And they still have, you know, the Martin Luther King Foundation and program that his daughter still runs. So you can also support that. They're, you know, really in the movement, doing a lot of things of teaching, you know, non-resistant movement. So they're still doing that. They're still have programs and things that is pushing forward his work. So that's something we can also support.
You too, I'll share your information if anyone
Yeah, we'll
who's
put it in
interested
the
in financial,
Yeah.
financial health.
Financial health, yeah,
Yeah.
financial literacy, that's, you know, that's the first and foremost thing, that I do. I help people to really understand their finances, learn how to grow their money, because that's the thing, we don't often know how to grow our money or where to put our money to grow it, and to multiply that money and to build wealth. And to build wealth for whatever you want to do it. I just happen to want to use my wealth for, you know, for social justice and social things that I believe in and that I want to see go forward. I want some other nice things too, but for the most part, I want to really move forward the causes that I think are important to me.
Amen.
Yeah. So,
All right. I think, it's also revolutionary, this is way off track, but to live joyfully.
That's not way up there,
Yeah.
right on track.
Well, I mean, yeah, just to live joyfully, to cultivate joy in your life, to, like you said, I like illuminate the space and take that, so that's an act of revolution.
Bring us home, Vince.
It is,
yeah.
well, that was it, WTP.online, sign the ticker, show your economic
Sign
impact.
up at
You
WTP.
know where it's going, where it's always going, for now, like, my life is going this way, and it could bear off, you know, it could be something else, but right now, this makes the most sense, without getting anyone killed, and, you know what I mean, like, there's very little work, you don't have to do anything right now.
What it does is
Let's show
it shows the
you know.
impact
So,
that we could have, it's the potential impact.
it-
It's
it-
not that we're
it-
going to do anything, it's that we're saying as a group, you know what, if we make a move, we're gonna move this
well, the
hard.
way we illustrate all the different, the eclectic group that it is,
Right.
like, so when we start. Look, it's we the people, it's that
That's right.
simple, let's get back to,
Yep.
let's take that constitution and own it. For the
And
first
own it.
time in American history, really, like, the people.
They wrote it for us, Vince.
Well, they wrote it for somebody, but we're taking it, you know what I mean,
No, they
so,
wrote it for us.
we've never had it,
We the people.
Right.
well, that's what it says,
Black
right?
folks think really had it, but-
Human condition, thank you, everybody,
I get it.
I'll share
Look,
Lenice's, information for anybody interested in financial health and financial literacy, and, are you still doing yoga? or-
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting back.
Are you?
Yeah.
Everybody,
Yeah.
Yoga instructor, here we go.
I'll share, I'll share her information too, Angie's on the website, so. We're just trying to build community, really, that was the sidebar. What if we don't get to 33 million? Well, we got 10 million like minds that will affect policy, because we had learned to be disciplined. We're teaching how to park.
Then once we get to $1 million, we are going to literally, people will, they won't be able to ignore us.
That's why we need to develop
The
the
1 million.
We need to develop, because when we go viral, it's like, oh shit, but anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll get to your questions, because I suck at this tech thing.
I think
All right.
tonight went well.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
Peace out.
It's out.
Go watch the I Have a Dream speech. A few minutes. Of your
Oh my
time.
God. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Watch, I Have a Dream or the Nobel Prize.
The Nobel Prize acceptance.
Acceptance, yeah.
Just in
Incredible.
commemoration, try to get some of that light flowing through you, because no matter what color you are, I mean, it's, those are, if Jesus were saying those words in white body, you know what I mean? Like, you might think that, so, I mean, try, you know what I mean? Just try to
Give it a
take in
shot.
some information from somebody.
Close your eyes
who's
and
different from you.
How about that?
Because again, it's bullshit, caricature.
All right, who's hungry?
And then they took ownership of them.
No, I'm already.
Like they